elsewhere. But when it comes to the larger strategy, what are they thinking about?
Well, first of all, it's nice to be back on with Morgan. She did a great job as the State Department spokesperson.
Oh, some bipartisanship here. This is good.
That's right. So I supported, I support the airstrike that Biden did last night on Syria. It was proportional and it was justified. I also supported the first airstrike that Trump did in Syria, which was April 7th, 2017, which was also justified because there were chemical weapons used by Assad. I do think that there's an internal debate inside the Biden administration right now, that there were probably some people who didn't want to do these airstrikes last night because they do want to go back into the nuclear agreement with Iran. There are others that recognize, as Morgan said, that the Shia militias in Iraq have become very powerful, that they're backed by Iran. Unless we do something about that, they're going to continue to destabilize Iraq and destabilize Syria. So we have to have a plan to deal with that growing strength of Iran in Iraq. And my understanding is that there are Biden officials who were surprised at how much stronger those Shia militias became in the last 4 years since they were in government in the Obama administration. So there needs to be a plan, as Morgan said, but this was a good start. And if we're going to go back into a nuclear agreement, we have to make sure that it also addresses Iran's support for destabilizing militias in Iraq and Syria.
And Morgan, you're taking the high road and not diving into the political angle of this, but we have seen the politicization of foreign policy and national security over the past 4 years, and I'm glad tonight we can see some agreement on the issue of retaliating against attacks on American interests. But moving forward, do you think that that they have a good strategy?
Well, it's a great point that David just brought up and that you're talking about regarding the strategy. See, it's not just Shia militias in Iraq. Iran metastasizes their power throughout the region. Iran has proxies not only in Iraq, they have it in Yemen, they have it in Syria, even in Afghanistan and Lebanon, right? You can look throughout the region where there is a Shia presence, and Iran uses whatever money they have left in order to fund and equip and train terror groups and proxy groups that will wreak havoc in the region. And that is why it is important to have a clearly stated and cohesive strategy. I know the Biden administration is a month in, but remember that they are using some of the authorities that we also used to conduct these airstrikes. So the Biden team, Blinken, the Secretary of Defense, they're all going to need to determine what type of administration are they taking. Are they going to go, in Syria? Are they going to go back into Syria? What are they going to do in Iraq? What are they going to do in Afghanistan? Big decisions to be made.
So quickly,
and Katie, by the way, you rock the 7 p.m.
Thanks, Morgan. One last question real quickly. David and Morgan, was this a legal strike? David, you go first, and then Morgan, you can go.
It was absolutely legal. It was justified. It was retaliation for attacks on our personnel in Iraq. As Morgan and I both served in Iraq for the U.S. government, and you can't protect your personnel unless you retaliate when Iran or Iranian-backed militias attack them.
All right, Morgan? Legal strike, yes or no?
I couldn't agree more. Yep.
All right.
Let's get more of them.
Morgan and David, thank you so much for your expertise. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.
Up next, Congressman Madison Cawthorn with a rallying cry to the next